Hello and welcome to GM Prep Four Blades in the Dark, episode 8, 9, 27. I'm Mark, and I'm the GM, and I am going to talk about some prep that I've done for this game and what is involved in running the game and everything else that goes along with that. It should be pretty cool. So, first of all, spoilers. If you haven't watched the rest of the series, I'm probably going to talk about stuff that you don't know yet. And so, if you want to not have that ruined for yourself, or you're one of those people where it can be ruined by someone telling you beforehand, then definitely don't watch this. But for all of those of you who have watched the other episodes, or just don't care, stick around. So, why is there? Oh my God. Why is this happening? All right, so OBS, I had to completely redo everything in OBS today because, and now fucking Skype is a piece of goddamn shit. The internet connection that it keeps saying is going down is 1 inch from me. 1 inch. Now, granted, there's Wi-Fi signals that have to go, through things, electronics and whatnot. But even so, the Wi-Fi is 1 inch from the other thing. It's like 3 inches. All right. Oh, I'm a hollow reed. All right, so we should talk probably about what the hell's going on with this game, because you may have noticed, if you're trying to follow along at home, that this has gotten very confused. These GM preps are coming in at weird times. Sometimes episodes don't post. Sometimes there's a big delay. I will explain. So, normally what happens is Christmas utterly destroys games. Usually what happens is everybody gets busy during the holidays. They got family shit, they got work shit, and, friend shit, I guess. Anyway, a lot of social obligations that people have during Christmas. And so, the game group just sort of falls apart during that time. That didn't happen this year, even though it was like, I think one of my weeks that I ran was like the 23rd. All right, I don't even remember the dates now. But I knew that 2 of them were like right around holidays. And so I thought, well, it's almost New Year's, people won't be here. Or, hey, it's 2 days after Christmas, people won't be here. But actually, my whole gaming group was available on those days, pretty much. I say the whole thing, I don't count Jim. He never counts. But so they were all, available. So that actually didn't happen in Christmas, December. What instead happened was they all had shit come up in January. So, same principle, is a different month. Yeah. So what ended up happening was I was supposed to run. I only ended up having 2 players available. I can run for 2 players. I don't necessarily mind. I don't necessarily like to. I like to have them, a quorum, I guess, really, of the group present. And a quorum in this particular case would be 3. So yeah, I only had 2 players for the one time, so we ended up just canceling. Well, then 2 weeks later, guess what? I've only got 2 players again. It ended up being different players, both times. And so the second time when I had 2 players, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I wanted to run just to keep the game alive, because that's probably my biggest fault as a GM, or, issue as a GM. Some other people may have differing opinions on this, but at least for me, if I don't run on a regular basis, I lose all interest in the game. And on a regular basis usually means every 2 weeks. I can usually skip like once and then just run once a month and I'll be okay. But if it gets more than a month, or if it happens like twice in a row where I only run once a month, then the game's over for me. And therefore, probably means it's over for my players. It's not something I'm necessarily proud of or anything like that. It's certainly something I'd like to change, but I'm sorry, there's so many new shinies. And if you don't have my attention on the old shiny, then I will just go to the new shiny. Um, so I was, starting to get worried about that happening, and it was going to continue to happen. So I was sort of intent on running, even when I only had two players, even though that's not my preferred thing. But I was like, well, in order to keep this game alive, I've got to do that. So I came up with a little side adventure thingy. And I didn't record a GM prep because I actually thought of the little side adventure an hour before the game. So I just, yeah, it wasn't looking good for the old game, the old Blades in the Dark that evening. But it turned out to be okay. Like an hour before the game, I thought of an idea. I got my two players together, and then a third player showed up whose plans got canceled. So then I had a quorum. The problem was the side adventure focused on the two characters that I had. So I ended up dropping that and going to the regular game and just continuing that. And it turned out okay. You can watch those videos. They're posted before this in the old playlist. Yeah, they're before this video in the playlist. The role playing sucked. I totally will cop to that, because again, it had been, almost a month. The thing that I had thought I was going to end up doing, I didn't end up doing. And so I was completely improvising everything, plus improvising on top of having a month of not thinking about it, or not, I didn't think about it, but, not having it in my consciousness. I don't know. It's a weird way to, I'm not sure how to phrase this, but I'm just, when you've got something sitting in the back of your mind, and every once in a while you'll get a crazy idea from it, because it's just sort of sitting there. That tends to be how I run and role play and, get ideas. Is, the game's always kind of constantly percolating there in the back of the head. And then occasionally an idea will leap forward and stab you right between the eyes, and you'll be like, I have an idea. And then you have an idea. Yeah. Where the hell was I going with that? So, yeah, the role playing sucked because it wasn't anything that I had in my head. It wasn't even in the back of my head anymore. However, I did think, plot wise, it worked out okay. You can probably tell I'm completely improvising it, just going with whatever they came up with. But it turned out okay. It wasn't the greatest session, but it at least, reinvigorated my brain, so it started thinking about the game again, and we don't end up in this situation where the game just dies because I'm no longer interested in it, because none of my other players were interested and they couldn't cancel their family obligations to show up. So, last session. Hagfish Farm. I am running out of ideas on how to run a gang game of sneaks, or snoops, or whatever the hell they're called, shadows. Because it's all about breaking and entering, and at least in my brain, it just sort of stuck there. Well, you're either caught or you get away with it. And so I was having a lot of trouble coming up with complications and new things to do for these continued, we break into a facility and steal shit type of games. Is that just a problem with me not having watched enough heist movies? Maybe. Is it just I don't get off on breaking and entering? That's not necessarily entertaining. I don't know what it is. but I've started to run out of ideas for those, and so I don't feel like this one was very inspired, but it got the job done. Now, talk to your players, right? That's good advice. After the game, I talked to my players and just said, I'm running out of ideas for breaking and entering stories, or at least, how to make them interesting. And so they threw some ideas at me, and I went, yeah, okay. So I've got a few ideas that I jotted down that they gave me for how to run those. And that's, what's great about having a group. That's what's great about common sense things that somehow don't happen in games, like talk to your players. So yeah, they gave me a list of a couple ideas, and I've got those ideas, written down. And then the last thing that they decided to do was they decided to go after Sawtooth, who was Hamish's enemy, rival guy who actually sent him to prison, which wasn't a thing that has actually come up in the story, mostly because, Hamish, the player, Jim, was unavailable for, an extended period of time, so I didn't really work in any of his backstory when he wasn't there. That would be weird. And then he showed up and has been in a couple sessions, but those sessions tended to be very gang focused, like, let's go do this thing, let's go. And so, it never really came up, but he, started the long-term project to involve his backstory, and that's all well and good. So, we should emphasize that. That's what I really like clocks for, because they tell you this is what players are interested in a very concrete manner. That has somehow not proven true so far, with people ticking off their clocks and then just saying, "Yep, our clocks are gone." I don't understand my players sometimes. But yeah, so he's been throwing out a bunch of those, personal details. So we're gonna throw those in. We're gonna have a adventure about getting Sawtooth, and I'm gonna use one of their breaking and entering ideas they gave me. So it should prove to hopefully be an entertaining time, and maybe we'll even have some role play this time. That's not true. I think really there's so many different ways to approach role playing in a role playing game that I think even just mechanically following the rules and having barely any story, I still think that counts. Still think it counts. So that's just me being cynical, saying that there wasn't any role playing. There was some stuff that happened. People got XP based on their drives and their backgrounds and their heritage and all that sort of stuff. So I think they thought there was role playing. So if the players think there's role playing, then there's role playing. That's not a maxim that you should probably follow. I don't know. So yeah, what is my idea? Well, I'm going to have them attend a party, and they're going to have to steal something while there's a crowd in the room. That tends to be, or it seems to be, a recurring trend with them, where they steal things in the middle of the day from people. And so I just thought, yeah, we'll just escalate that. Steal shit from people in the middle of the day while they're all looking at you. I don't have all the details quite worked out how that's gonna, play out, but I think we can do that, combine it with some of that personal stuff, and hopefully have a decent adventure that doesn't leave me going, I need to come up with an idea for this breaking and entering. All right, so let's talk about some stuff that I sort of skipped over because I didn't do GM prep last time. My bad. And I'll probably even forget shit that I should have talked about in this video just because it's been a while. So you will have noticed, of course, that the ink rake's clock has finished and nothing has happened. I have something for that. I totally have it. There's a plot written down and everything, and I'm just waiting for the right time to trigger it. I didn't want to trigger it last time because I was only going to have 2 players. And then when we got back, with the other people, or with the third player showing up, it slipped my mind a little bit at the very beginning of the session. I thought of it 15, 20 minutes later. I remembered it and went, but that's, another hazard of not running for a month is you forget the plots that you had sitting there just waiting for them to kick off. So that will happen. I swear the ink clock meant something. Yeah, that's going to happen. Is that the only thing that I can remember? That's really sad. Let me look at my notes real quick. You can actually see this if you watch the video where we all just sort of went, I don't remember what happened. I don't remember what happened. And that's why I hate to take breaks. So they still got that job from LaRose about Sister Thorn, Madame Teslin, all that sort of stuff. That is tied into what I'm going to be calling the main plot. It's not the real main plot. There never really was a main plot. I had an end game in mind. But when I say end game, I kind of just mean I had a vague idea of how it might end. I didn't know how exactly the end game was going to play out. I didn't know how we were going to get to that point. But I think after last session and putting a couple, thoughts in my head, thinking about some things, I think I may have figured out how we can reach that stage. And it's not like, a railroad to get to that point. I'm still a little nebulous on some details. We'll just see how it plays out. But I think I have a better idea of how to do that. I will say the Sister Thorn, Madame Teslin thing plays into that. That was mostly a plot just to say, hey, look at these plot elements you keep ignoring. Maybe that will make an impact. Maybe not. But this upcoming story that I had idea for the Sawtooth plot, I think will also tie into that end game-ish point. So I've got 2 different angles to approach it from, and they're both sort of going in this. Well, I guess if they're coming in like this, they're gonna converge, and then we'll have a straight line to the end. Okay, it probably won't work out that way, but that's sort of the idea. So, despite the fact that everyone forgot what was happening, I didn't run for a month. I think I did end up with an idea of how to end the game. Now, that end is still far off. I mean, I'm not like, yep, I got it. Next session, game over. No. But I think I think I have some ways to, definitely signpost that the end is coming. Hopefully my players will pick up on that and run with it. They seem to have dropped all my other plots that I've thrown at them throughout this entire game. I don't know if that's my fault for just sort of letting them drop to the side, but I also feel like play to find out what happens kind of, dictates that if people aren't interested in certain things, if they just turn around and go the opposite direction from those things, then you drop those things and you go in the opposite direction. I don't have a problem with that. It's just kind of weird that I keep just ignoring all my hints. Maybe my hints aren't good. Maybe my hints aren't very hinty. Maybe none of the things I've thrown at them have intrigued them. I don't really know. Maybe it's because everything that I throw at them scares them and they're afraid of losing their characters, and so they go the opposite direction. But they should know me better than that by now. Especially after that one adventure where they all got killed and then didn't get killed. Like, I don't know. That may be the quintessential GM problem of how do I make players interested in plots? I don't know. We'll find out. I think I do have two decent angles at bringing those points up, but they may not do anything with them. I don't know. It's kind of turned into me complaining about my players, but I really don't mean it like that. I just um I guess I'm just, well, frustrated is not the right word, but neither is annoyed. But because actually, I mean, I'm having fun playing it. I do like a lot of the tools that Blades, has in the book on how to run it. I think it runs improvisationally fairly decently. I like all that stuff. So it's just more that there hasn't been a semblance of a plot that's shown up. And the plot doesn't even necessarily have to be like, here's a big overall story or here's my overall story. Like if the plot is one of the PCs has a change of heart and changes, that's cool too, Some character growth is awesome. But I'm not seeing any of those hints from players. And I don't know, maybe that's just because they're not familiar with the system or they don't feel like they know the world really to interact with it some more. Maybe I just totally suck at role playing and so they just don't have any buy-in. I don't know. If you know, leave a comment in the comments. Tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. Oh my god. No. I actually think it's fine. There were some hiccups obviously with the time delay. Time delay? It wasn't really a delay, but time got away from us. That always fucks up my head, at least for games. I think it fucked up their heads too a little bit. You can see that at the beginning of the session where they don't remember what's going on and they usually have way better memories than me. So I think the last session was a little bit of a getting back into the groove of the game. So it probably doesn't come across super awesome, but we'll get there. I think people are back, up to speed. And I've got some cool ideas that I didn't have before this big break, so that's always good. So a recovery session, for both players and GM, a recovery session. Sometimes you need those, I guess. It's something I just made up right now, so maybe you don't ever need those. Maybe it's just a foolish concept that has no bearing in reality. I don't know. All right. So that is all I'm going to talk about today. I apologize for not getting to some of the normal GM prep stuff that I do, but again, there's been such a big gap, and I didn't record one last time that I then actually have to go back and fill in those details. And I honestly just don't remember them, the things that I wanted to talk about on this episode. So maybe this is a recovery GM prep episode as well. Next session will be awesome. Next GM prep will be awesome too. So we're ending on a positive note. So yeah, subscribe to the channel. It's pretty cool. You can see me complain about things, mostly my players, I guess, and my own GMing, I guess. But yeah, subscribe to the channel, follow us on the Facebooks and the Twitters and the other places that you can follow people. I'm pretty sure we're on them. And tune in hopefully, in a week. Oh, I remembered something I wanted to talk about. So when I switched to Saturday, I was doing the GM prep, before the game, but I think when I switched to the Saturday, I ended up getting the GM prep on the wrong week, and so the GM preps ended up being like recorded like the day before the game session, and so it was really hard to get them uploaded and have people watch them before the actual game session was live. If anybody's doing that, I don't know that they are, but I wanted to give them the option. So. And I think I'm still on the wrong week, actually. So this may not show up before we actually go live next session. Whoops! I got my weeks confused again. This stupid break, it's ruined everything. That actually got ruined before. So yeah, I'm gonna try to adjust that. So the next GM prep may actually be really fast, right around the corner. So if you see that show up on your Twitter feed because you're following us, and you'll be thinking, "Wait, isn't this an extra bonus GM prep?" It's not really. I just need to get back on the right schedule. Okay, so I ended the video with a scheduling note. That was riveting. Yeah, follow us on the places. Thanks for watching. Bye.